Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and I'm joined, as always, by the host that you really came here to hear, the star-spangled man with a plan, Captain Steve Rogers himself.
Yeah! Dude, that debate was awesome. Did we talk about that last week?
You told me it was coming up, and I've been waiting all week to hear what happened.
Yep. I wiped the floor with her. I wiped the floor with Batman. I texted Zach earlier after it happened, but I basically just used this faux presidential debate as an excuse to spout my socialist beliefs to the kids for like 25 minutes.
Let's go.
Especially going against Batman. It just fit too perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? Yeah, it was pretty good. I unfortunately, that movie came out so long ago, the Captain America movie, that when I was just quoting my favorite lines, I also just used it as an excuse to say my favorite Captain America lines. I don't think the kids really got it that much. I did a couple times where I was like, you know, when I went into the ice, blah, 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 I come out and blah, 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 blah. And then they asked about like what's going on with the rest of the world and things like this. And I was like, I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from.
Let's go.
And then one of my favorites was at the end I grabbed my helmet and I said, do you see this A on this helmet? It doesn't stand for France.
The kids are probably like, what?
I know.
So, did they vote already? Was it
no?
an electoral?
They vote on Tuesday, but I Captain America will win because the kids got to pick the talking points. Like they had a platform where they got to write what the talking points were for each candidate, and you know, kids are dumbasses, so. For Batman, like all of the talking points were just like, I have X amount of $1 billion, so I can just fund this and this and this. So then my rebuttal was always just like, yeah, you are going to fund it because we're going to tax people like you.
Also, what's stopping you from doing it already, Bruce?
I said that too. I was like, you don't have to become president to fund this or that. Yeah, we'll see. And I didn't use my talking points at all. I just said,
you were riffing.
Because, you know, Zach, I respect Captain America too much to I know Captain America better than those kids do. So, you know, I know what types of things he would say.
And that's really what this educational exercise was about. It wasn't so they could learn anything. It was so John could flex his superhero knowledge.
And my socialist beliefs.
And your socialist beliefs. Hell yeah, dude, that rocks.
It did rock. It was pretty fun. I think I'll get invited to do it again next year.
I hope you do. And the superhero will be Spider-Man.
That'd be awesome.
You'd be like, my opponent is the mayor of Crazy Town. We can't elect them.
One thing I did, and then another thing I got to say was, if Batman really wants to help people, he should hang up his cape and his cowl and do this or this or this, which is also a line from The Dark Knight. So I really did get to have fun doing some dorky comic things that basically only I got, but that's
yeah.
As we've talked about before, most bits are just for yourself, right?
Absolutely. I am the funniest man I know, and no one else may ever agree with that.
That's true.
You know, perception is reality.
Well, you're the second funniest person I know.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm the funniest person I know.
And I would hope you would be.
So what have you been up to this week? How was Halloween? Did you and Shiloh dress up as anything?
We didn't do anything. We don't have a sidewalk on our street, so no one even rang the doorbell or knocked or anything.
Lame.
I was supposed to go to this thing. This isn't going to sound real, but I was supposed to go to this like death metal show in Louisville that was going to be. It was going to be held in a haunted tuberculosis sanatorium, and
that was one. Okay, it's so funny you brought up tuberculosis because that was one line from Captain America that I also had on my mind that I never found the time to do it. But there's a line in the first one where he's like, when he's trying to sign up for the army, where they're like, "How'd your father die?" And he's like, "Mustard gas. He was in the hundreds." I know like that whole movie by heart, right? It's like he was in the 107th, and then like, "Your mother," and she goes, "She was a nurse in a TB ward. Got hit, couldn't shake it." And I was like, kids won't know what that even means.
No, they won't.
That's a good line.
Yeah, so it was to be a show at this haunted tuberculosis sanatorium, and there was going to be a costume contest because it was on Halloween night, and the winner of the costume contest would win an overnight paranormal stay at this haunted place.
Doesn't even sound fun. I'd hate that.
I wasn't going to dress up or try to win or anything, but I just ended up not going.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually not a big costume person, but I actually did 3 costumes this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
How festive of you.
Yep, because the day before Halloween, I was Captain America. And then that same night, there was like a costume thing at the bowling league that I do. And we dressed up as the people from Grease. Have you seen that movie?
I thought for sure it was going to be the characters from The Big Lebowski.
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god, dude. That would have been so perfect. How did we not think of that?
That just seems so obvious to me. I was thinking either if they didn't do that, it's because they did it in a previous year, or everyone does that.
No, that would have been awesome. Oh my gosh, dang it. That would have been so awesome.
Okay.
Well, the reason we were the people from Greece was because there's another team of girl bowlers that we always like hang out with, and they were the pink ladies, and we were like the people from the guys from Greece. So
sure, the 50-year-old men, teenagers.
Yeah. And then on Halloween, I did my classic Ratatouille costume that you've seen, because we went to that Comic-Con, and it was a pretty big hit with the kids.
That's great. Yeah. Dude, you've got to be like the coolest teacher right now. Your Q score has got to be through the roof.
I am. I'm the coolest teacher. The kids don't respect me. It's awesome. No, just kidding. But I am the coolest teacher.
Good. I'm glad you know that. Well, that's awesome, man.
I'm also the coolest guy I know, along with being the funniest.
Anyone who doesn't think they're the funniest and coolest person they know, that's too much reality for you. You gotta indulge yourself a little bit.
Exactly. I think we've got some good issues today. I think this run is starting to pick up a little bit.
I'm glad you say so, and I know this is a good segue to get into them. I was so worried that I was going to have a lot of fun with these issues, and you were going to say it still didn't work for you.
Oh, I had a good amount of fun with these issues. I also, we're not that we're quite into it, but I think La Fuente is coming into his own a bit.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Well, I think there's something that contributes to that. I think there's something that happens in the story that was smart as a way to distinguish himself. But we can get into it if you don't have anything else.
Yeah, nope. I've got some stuff for the end.
Let's send it over to our sponsor and then get into these issues.
And our sponsor is Wayne Enterprises, who doesn't pay their fair share in taxes.
Every business says they're better. But the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Issue 9 and 10.
I'm just thinking about the guy who's like, "Hey, our dip CEO's embezzling money and driving around in a tank. Did you know about this?"
That was another thing I never got to really I never got to talk about too much. Unfortunately, it was there wasn't as much attacking going on in this presidential debate as maybe there are in real presidential debates. But I had every what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I wanted to try to find a time to be like, that's called embezzlement, Mr. Wade. You know,
You wanted it to be more combative than it was.
I did.
That's funny.
I wanted to call Gotham a cesspool. I wanted to, but oh well.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about Batman is, you know, two things can be true at once. Batman is cool as a fictional character, and it's fun to like watch him and read him, but he also absolutely is hoarding wealth while beating up on people having mental health crises.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah. All right, getting into Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 9, which is really 142. This is written, as always, by Brian Michael Bendis, art by David LaFuente, colored by Justin Ponser, and lettered by VC's Corey Petit.
And we've got a nice picture of Jessica Drew on the cover.
The babe is back.
Oh, yeah, that's what it said, isn't it?
In the last one, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the tease we got. Man, I just love her so much. If you put her on the cover of any issue, I'm buying that issue. I mean, I was already going to, but I love Jessica Drew.
Well, I think we're going to get to talk about, you know,
all my favorite characters.
Yes, we are. And
Yeah.
and we're also going to dive into the sexual preferences of these characters in this issue. Okay, maybe Zach is right. Maybe Peter Parker and Johnny Storm. Maybe there is something there. I don't know. When I was reading this issue, I was like, this is interesting.
Well, and I can remember a time where we were talking about Jessica, and I was like, she's such an interesting character because she invites so many questions. Like, how does she see herself? Who is she? Are there ways that she's different than Peter? You know, what does that mean if they are the same?
Well, if she's a clone of Peter, wouldn't that mean if Peter is attracted to girls, wouldn't that mean that Jessica Drew would also be attracted to girls? I mean, if they're the same brain, but just in like a female body, right?
And conversely, if she's attracted to boys,
attracted to Johnny Storm, exactly, Zach.
This is what I was getting at. You know, these are the questions that are so interesting. Someone could probably, like a gender studies major who focuses on,
I'm sure that there's been thesis papers written about it.
Pop culture or something. You could really hone in on not that many issues of comics that she appears in and come up with a pretty interesting theory about, you know, what that says.
Yeah.
Anyways,
let's do it.
We open on an armored truck being flipped over by an explosion, and we see the Bombshells, mother and daughter supervillain duo, are the ones responsible.
These guys get out of jail and back together.
I know. I was wondering that too. I don't understand.
If they're caught red-handed, like blowing things up, why are they like out on the streets?
Well, you know, it's New York. Maybe a bigger supervillain like blew up the jail wall and everyone escaped, and she just went with them. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe their case got dismissed because, you know, Spider-Man didn't stay and talk to the cops and lawyers.
Well, you just brought up a good point. Maybe they were like somehow like tried together, and then if they're close to each other, then they would have been able to escape.
Yeah. I don't know. We're not really given the how did this supervillain escape from custody any time, so this isn't the weirdest thing. And the mom, Lori, which this is important because the last time we were told the daughter's name is Lori, that is not the case moving forward. The mom says, "Okay, Lana, aim for the lock," and her daughter's...
Sure? Wait, did we get him?
Oh, we got him. And I called that out when we were introduced to these characters.
Nice. Good
Because,
job.
not to spoil anything, but like the daughter, Lana, kind of becomes a noteworthy character in the future. So
Oh,
I
okay.
I knew instantly when she got called Lori. I was like, that's not her name. Um,
Okay.
so the mom's like, aim for the lock on this armored truck, and the daughter's like, I know, mother. And it's like split up like that. You really get a sense of how these two talk because half the time they're cussing, and then Lana just talks like a bratty little girl. And they break in and take some bags of money and comment on how lucky it is that Spider-Man isn't there this time. And then just then, like on cue, they both get webbed in the face and start cursing. And they curse a lot in this scene, and it's kind of played for laughs, but I'm not going to mention every time it happens because it will get old and boring.
It's just
for
like
us.
every time they talk.
Yeah. And they're like the only characters in this universe that do it that often, and that's supposed to be like, I guess, funny or something, or tell us something about them. But I'm just not going to mention it every time. Just imagine when we're seeing them, they always have the little bleep words.
Yeah.
And so we see Jessica Drew jump down and say, "Language, you two." And they start blasting at her and pull the webs off of their faces. And one of the blasts hits Jessica in the back. And Lana starts fighting Jessica while her mother yells at her that they need to escape. And I think the mom was maybe right because we see flames in the background. And Johnny Storm shows up saying, ladies, there's no need to fight. There's plenty of me to go around." And Johnny and Jessica team up and take down the Bombshells. And Jessica starts to swing away, but
Okay.
Johnny... Okay.
I have something here. It's a
What's up?
little inappropriate. Okay.
I love it. Let's hear it.
Do you think when these girls are webbed in the face on both page 1 and then again on page 2 or page 3...
Oh, you dirty boy.
I'm not the one who's drawing it, man, but that doesn't look like webs to me. I think it looks like something else that everyone can probably assume, and I think it's supposed to.
Wow, John.
I'm
I'd like
not
to
the
say
one who's drawing it.
I'd like to say that's just you having a dirty mind, but the sound effect spack isn't helping either. It's really emphasizing how wet and sticky it is.
It is, and that's not what the webs usually look like.
No, they're like thwip.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm like, gross, David LaFuente.
Hey, maybe it's just us. Maybe a different set of eyes would think that we're the crazy ones.
Maybe. But I do also think this is right away in these first like couple panels, I'm like seeing a different art style. I think like I had to go back and look at the credits page to see if it was LaFuente, because I think that this doesn't look as childish as it usually does.
It's still him for sure, but it's like ever so more realistic as opposed to cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like the faces are still really round, but they're not like they're
As
not
round.
absurdly round. Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it more right away.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say I like how he draws Jessica, but I'm realizing this is the first time we've seen him draw Jessica. So maybe if he had drawn her in the earlier issues, I wouldn't have liked it. Who knows?
Johnny Storm has blonde hair.
He does. That's a coloring error.
We got him again.
Or maybe it's just the flames. I don't know.
Fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they beat the bad guys, and Jessica starts to swing away, but Johnny does that thing again where he follows her. And they basically have the same conversation as last time. He's like, wait, hold up. I didn't even get your name. We're both superheroes. We should hang out. Ha 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 ha. And Jessica tries to lose him and swings a different direction and says under her breath, sorry, Johnny. And she sits on the side of a wall and sadly pulls her mask down. And is like, damn. And then she hears a voice say, I knew you were cute under there. And of course, she didn't actually lose Johnny at all. He saw her dip over to the side and then followed her. He's hovering there talking to her while she tries to hide her face from him. And they start talking, and I feel like they're kind of flirting. She's sort of smiling in this panel, and she's like, "Oh, you, what are you doing? Hee hee." And, okay, so he asks for her name again, and she's like, "All right, it's Jessica, and that's all you're gonna get." And Johnny says, "Jessica, would you like to go to the movies with me?" And she's like, "Are you asking me out?" And Johnny tells her he's pretty sure he's ready to ask her to marry him, but he thinks even a movie is pushing his luck. And she puts her hands on her face and is like, "Oh my God."
Yes, and then the scene ends. And here's a touch that, it's pretty on the nose, but they are positioned directly in front of a big billboard with hearts all over it that says something love. And that's like where this conversation is happening.
Oh my God. I don't know how I've read this issue several times and not noticed that, but thank you for calling that out. I could analyze the body language from these couple panels all day. This is just like the most interesting thing to me. Because it's like she's kind of hiding her face and she's like, "No, don't look at me, look away." It's like she thinks he's going to recognize her as Peter Parker. And then she's like smiling at him. And then she's like looking at him a little closer. And then she's like, "Oh my God." And what is that? Oh my God. Is it, "Oh my God, I'm attracted to him. Oh my God, he's attracted to me. Oh my God, this is weird." You don't know.
You don't know.
And I like that it ends right here because it makes something later seem kind of ambivalent. Okay. So the scene changes. We cut to Midtown High where Peter and Gwen are walking together in the hall. And she kisses him and she's like,
Peter walks underneath a ladder. 7 years bad luck.
Good catch.
He does.
You are noticing all these things that have just gone over my head. She kisses him and pulls him into the girl's bathroom and is like, "Follow me." And he's like, "Oh my God, what are we doing?" And she's like, "When your girlfriend tells you to follow her, you do it." And it's like, John,
there's also like big signs in the hallway of the school. And one of them says, "Don't panic because of the mayhem. Study." So the school is leaning into all of the craziness that's happening, I guess.
That's true. But I don't know, John, her kissing him and then pushing him into the girl's bathroom. I'm like, wow, this series went from what we called cartoonish and childish to very not very fast. Mm-hmm. And he walks in and to his surprise, who does he see but Kitty is waiting for him. She's like, "Mr. Parker, if you please," and points him into a stall. John, I'm not crazy, am I, for thinking this was going somewhere else the first time I saw it? And he looks in the stall and Mary Jane's in there. It's like all of his girlfriends have conspired to push him into the ladies' room. But it's not what it looks like. They've got clippers and combs and beauty products. And they're like, "Mr. Parker, you're getting a haircut." And he tries to run, but Kitty stops him and all three girls grab him and force him to sit on the toilet. And it turns out they were all eating lunch together and talking and realized that all three of them thought his haircut was stupid.
Which it is.
It is. It's very funny because, it's the same haircut he's had since 2000 when this story started. And maybe it would have been in vogue then, but it stands out like a sore thumb now. And I think this was a smart choice, knowing that David LaFuente draws his hair so big. They're like, okay, we're going to give him a new haircut and it's not going to look as weird because it'll be LaFuente's own thing. We're not comparing Peter's hair to how it looked under the previous artists.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. Also, I was just thinking about, this is like an all-time low for the Bechdel test. So these three girls were talking about a man that they've all dated, and it wasn't even shown. It happened off panel.
It would be interesting to see how this comic run passes the Bechdel test. Because they probably are only talking about Spider-Man all the time.
Unfortunately, yeah. And this is kind of funny. All three girls are like, sweetie, your head, it's completely round. Look, when you wear your mask, you see how stupid you look? And they're all three holding up the same picture on their phones, and they're pointing at it, and they're like, it's a round head, sweetie. Your head shouldn't be that round.
Well, this is like so funny because, you know, LaFuente didn't have to draw it like that. I don't understand how long hair would make his head look round. You know? So it's kind of like, well, if you know it looks stupid, why are you drawing it like that? Or maybe this is Brian Michael Bendis being like, it looks stupid how you're drawing Spider-Man, so I'm going to put it in the text that it's stupid how you're doing this.
They had to have gotten letters from readers. They were like, what is up with this?
Well, that's also partially why everything looked so much more childish, you know? Because everyone's head was just like round and cartoonish.
Yeah. Mary Jane says, you look like Charlie Brown, honey. And it's like, yeah, because you drew him looking like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're interrupted when Tandy Bowen walks in and is like, come on, this is the ladies' room. And she bickers back and forth with the other girls and tells Kitty, you shouldn't even be allowed to go here. You should be in a cage. And Mary Jane tells Tandy to get the out, and Tandy leaves. John, I would imagine you probably don't remember us talking about Tandy Bowen before.
No, I don't.
I think this is the first time we've actually seen her interact with anyone, but there have been teases about her. Like, I think people have mentioned, oh, Tandy Bowen said this. And at one point, she was running for class president, and there was Tandy Bowen for class president posters in the halls.
Okay.
I don't think you know who Cloak and Dagger are, do you?
This sounds familiar, but no.
Okay. She's Dagger. So
Okay.
This is just another superhero person that attends their school.
Wow. It's like half the school.
Well, I'm not saying here she's a superhero. I'm just saying that's the name.
She'll get powers eventually.
Well, you know, I don't want to ruin anything, but maybe. We'll see. This is a Marvel character. This is someone that people would recognize. Okay, but yeah, so she comes in and says some like horrible stuff to Kitty and then leaves. And Kitty says angrily, it's never going to end. And we cut to the Parker house where Aunt May says she loves Peter's new haircut.
Which is so stupid. Because at the moment, his haircut looks like it was done by three girls with no haircut experience. Like, later on in the issue and the next issue, it looks like a normal short haircut. But right now, I thought it was supposed to look like terrible. Like when kids get scissors and like cut their hair, you know?
Well, and it kind of does, but I think she's just glad that he got a haircut. That's not the one he's been walking around with.
Yeah.
And to your point, May says, it is a little short though. And Gwen says, well, Mary Jane didn't have the beautician experience she claimed she had. And then Peter says, she actually has none. I love it, John. I have loved every scene of this comic so far. I'm just going to say it. This is fun.
Well, this picture of Aunt May grabbing Peter's cheeks, I don't like. I still am not a big fan of how Peter Parker is drawn with his like insanely baggy pants. And he just like looks so short to me. Like he still looks like he's like 5 years younger than all of the other kids, along with like Bobby. What's his last name?
Drake.
Drake. Along with Bobby Drake, he and Bobby look like they're like, I don't know, like toddlers compared to Aunt May and Gwen, who are like towering above them.
It does kind of look like when, you know, you have like a younger sibling, you know, and you're all still in high school, but maybe it's like, oh, the juniors and then the freshmen are hanging out with them.
Yeah.
Johnny walks into the house yelling, "It happened, I'm in love." And I now understand why John says this series has turned into a sitcom, because this just feels like there should be like a clapping track when he walks in.
And Johnny Storm is walking around in a shirt that's got fire on it. You're
Okay.
supposed to be inconspicuous, dude.
I was noticing that as well, and that kind of looks like the Offspring logo, but I also kind of remember there maybe being like a skateboard brand or something in the 2000s that had a logo that looked like that. I think it's supposed to be a specific shirt, but I can't tell what. But you're right, it does. He is walking around with a shirt with a big flame.
It's like the same way that Peter only dresses in like red and blue.
Yes. Yeah, so Johnny thanks Peter and says because of him, he met the hottest chick ever. And Peter's like, oh, it's someone I know? And he starts trying to think about and guess who Johnny could be talking about. And he's like, is it Silver Sable? No. Electra? No. Black Cat? No. But who's that? I want to meet a sexy black cat. And Gwen is like standing there and she's like, who? Who? And she gets mad and says, who the hell are all these skanks? And
Jealousy's an ugly color, Gwen.
It is. And Peter tells Johnny, well, man, I'm fresh out of ideas. That's all the hot girls
even like Gwen, like I like the way she looks a lot more than in the past when La Fuente has drawn her. Because she also had like a super round face and, you know, I just think this, like I said, I think he's found his, you know, he's found his pen.
I think surely some scathing fan mail made him adjust how he was drawing people.
Okay.
Yeah, so Peter says to Johnny, that's all the hot girls he knows, and Gwen punches him, and he adds, that I'm not dating and in love with. And Johnny goes, no, you totally know her. Spider-Woman. And Peter's like, Spider-Woman? I don't know. And then he goes, oh! And Peter seems flustered and says, what the woozy-wah? And Johnny's like, yeah, she's hot and we totally made out. And Peter looks like he's seen a ghost. Because, of course, you know, this brings a lot of questions to him. Like we were just talking about with Jessica.
I think this is a coward's move by
Bendis?
the creative team to be like, oh yeah, they made out, but we didn't. I mean, because he could be lying. We didn't see that happen, and it sure didn't seem like that was about to happen from the conversation that they had, you know?
I'm so glad you came to that before I could mention it, because I have always wondered, you know, there's a good chance Johnny's lying about this.
Definitely. I remember having friends in high school that would just like exaggerate things, you know, with girls. And then you talk to the girl and they'd be like, no, we didn't make out or anything. And it's like, you're a liar, dude.
Yeah.
But I don't think Johnny Storm's lying. That's even more why I think it's like a coward's move. Because they should have drawn it. Give the people what they want.
I don't know if Marvel would have allowed that. I feel like this might be the closest Bendis could get to inferring that Peter Parker himself is bisexual. I think that he might have tried and they might have said that was a bridge too far. I don't know. I lean on the side of they probably did make out, but there's at least a 40% chance they didn't.
Okay.
And I think it's meant to be up to our interpretation.
I think I'd put their makeout chances a little higher than that, than 60-40. I might go like 75-25.
Also, like you said, it might have been she maybe gave him a peck to try it out, and he's embellishing that it was a full-on make-out sesh. We don't know. Okay. This is a fun scene. It's so awkward. I love it. So Peters looks like he's seen a ghost, and Johnny just is still going off. He's like, I've dated models and actresses and superstars, but was always missing something, but not anymore. She's the one, and she rocks, and she's so hot, and she's my dream girl. And Peter starts getting flustered and says, you kissed her? On her face? And she let you? She kissed you back? And Johnny Storm despite looking at a male version of the exact same face as his dream girl has, doesn't understand what Peter is
that's another thing that'd be interesting to compare, is how similar their like facial features are. Like if Peter Parker just put on a long brown wig, would he look like Jessica Drew? I'm not sure.
I've tried to pay attention to that before. She definitely has softer
more
features.
Feminine yeah, definitely.
In some
like
ways.
They don't look exactly the same.
Yeah, like she has longer eyelashes and, stuff like that. But definitely before this haircut that he just got, the front of their hair, like their bangs, was identical. And their nose looks the same, and their chin looks the same, and their eyes are the same color. Johnny, when he's looking directly at Peter, should realize something.
There's an episode of Seinfeld where George is like in love with this girl that he's dating, and then Kramer walks in and sees her, and he's like, "Oh my God, you look exactly like Jerry." And then it's like all George can see for the rest of the episode, and he's like going through the same thing that Peter's probably going through, where he's like, what does it mean that I'm in love with a girl that looks exactly like looks like a female version of my best friend?
Man, I don't know how it is that every time a Seinfeld episode gets described to me, it sounds like the funniest show, but whenever I try and sit down and watch it, I can't even laugh once.
No, it is the funniest show. It's so funny.
There's something about the delivery of it.
On like season 6 or something.
Apparently, I don't know. I watch it like in hotels, when it's just on TV.
That's when the earlier seasons are, while still being really good, they're more like grounded. And then when you get to like season 6, that's when it kind of starts to get a little more like fun and outrageous. And a lot of people think that's when the show goes downhill, but I mean, I when I do rewatches, that's what I rewatch, because they're like the more fun episodes, and it's a lot more like jokes versus just like real world situations that have humor in them.
Gotcha. I saw a video recently pop up on my Instagram where it was what's the guy who plays George? What's the
Jason
actor's name?
David.
Yes. No. Is it Larry David? Who's the creator?
Oh
guy?
Yeah, it's Larry David is the creator. Yeah, I'm mixing them up. It's Jason something though. Jason Alexander. That's it.
Yes. Okay.
He's based on Larry David. Larry David, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Is apparently he was like. It was the episode where George comes in after quitting on Friday. He comes in on Monday and acts like he didn't do it.
Oh, yeah, the SNL story that Larry David told. Is that what you're about to... Yeah.
He's like, no one would do this. This isn't a realistic thing. He's like, sure they would. I did it. And he realized, oh, you are this character.
He was like, Larry David was like mad that he was working for SNL and all of his skits kept getting like not picked up for the show. And then one day he just like chewed out the boss and like quit.
Lorne Michaels.
And then as he's like walking home, he's like, what have I done? I just quit Saturday Night Live. And he's talking to his neighbor, who's the real life inspiration for Kramer. And Kramer's like, you should just go back. Just pretend like nothing happened at all on Monday. And that's what he does.
And it worked?
And it works.
That's hilarious. Maybe I should give it another try. I don't know.
It's pretty funny. Have you ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No.
It's another funny one. And it's one where if you watch it, you're like, oh, all of the characters in Seinfeld were Larry David to an extent, because all of the things that happen in Curb, you're like, I could see that happening to George. I could see this happening to Jerry. This is exactly like Elaine or something. So it's like Larry David is just so funny.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering what it says about Cheryl Hines, that the people that she hangs out with are Larry David and Robert Kennedy Jr. I bet she's got some stories.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Anyways, we got off track. Where are we? Okay, so Johnny's looking at Peter and he's like, doesn't understand what Peter's so freaked out about. And Peter's like, I gotta go, and runs out of the house. And as Peter leaves, we get a panel of Johnny doing the exact same thing that Peter did and saying, what the who's-he wah? And John, the kids call that bisexual panic.
What?
I think Johnny is... I think one or both of these boys are now realizing they might have feelings for the other, or potentially could have.
How I read this as Johnny was just like repeating what Peter said, like questioning it, you know? He's like, what the who's he what? What did he, you know, like what's he talking about?
Well, he's got like the expressive background behind him, like I interpret that as like a wave of panic hits your face and you start feeling like warm and flushed. I definitely think
does that happen to everyone? Does that happen to you too?
Yeah.
You know, I can immediately tell when I am getting stressed about something because I will immediately start to sweat and like feel hot. Like it's very obvious to me. Like, you know,
yeah.
I don't know. Does that happen to you too?
Yeah, and I feel like that's what these panels are expressing with the background in addition to the words and the face. I don't think he's literally internalized, oh, I made out with a clone of Peter. But I think he's emotionally putting something together where he's like, wait a minute, why did that feel kind of familiar? Like when I was with my dream girl. That's strange. What am I feeling inside? But it's all vague enough that, you know, who knows if I'm right. Maybe it's more about what it means to you than what it actually means on the page. But Peter suits up and starts swinging through the city to clear his head, and his thought bubbles are just him internally screaming for a while. And we get a really...
see, now this is interesting. What does this screaming mean?
I know.
I think he's upset. This is where I'm like, maybe part of Zach was right. And Peter and Johnny Storm, and there is something there. Because this seems like Peter's upset that his clone made out with Johnny Storm.
And he doesn't get to.
Exactly.
I mean, I took it as
interesting. But Peter is always dating, like, girls, you know.
I'm not saying he's gay. I'm saying he's bi-curious.
Interesting.
And I think to a 15-year-old in 2000, whatever year this was, I think that's scary. Okay, so we get a really fun montage. This page might be my favorite art David LaFuente's ever given us. It's of Spider-Man fighting bad guys and saving people. And then next to it, he's sitting on a gargoyle after it's all over, saying, I thought that would help make me feel better. Nope.
Okay. Have we seen the Vulture in this story yet?
Yes.
Is he a fat old man?
Nope. This is just apparently someone else got the Vulture suit. I don't know.
Well, Peter's doing some good saving here. I mean, he definitely rescues this little girl from an explosion that's about to happen.
And her dog, too.
Okay. I thought that was a stuffed animal, but yeah, I guess it does look like a dog. He's definitely saving this guy who's falling to his death, you know. And I don't understand why he doesn't feel good. Like, if your bro makes out with a girl, you usually feel good. I'm usually given props, right? So
high-fiving.
I don't understand, you know.
But
that's why I think the way we're kind of sort of reading it, I think is correct. Because he's definitely upset at someone. It's either like himself or Jessica Drew or God or something.
Yeah. It's definitely not the fact that Johnny made out with a girl. It's the fact that that girl is like a mirror version of himself.
Yeah.
But he also is blowing this out of proportion, and it's kind of funny. And the next day in class, Johnny shows Peter a note that says, "Dude, what's the deal?"
And now Peter's haircut looks good. It's
Yeah,
no longer it's he's got a normal haircut now. He looks good. He looks like a totally different person. He's got a normal face that's not round. He's got a normal haircut. He doesn't look as small as he has looked in the past couple drawings. I mean, it's a testament, men, to a good haircut. Okay?
That's true. That might
I need to get a haircut. I'm in a headband right now because I haven't gotten a haircut in so long.
I think a good haircut could fix me.
A good haircut and a good shave.
Yeah.
Not to you, to me.
I haven't shaved since 2019 because the last time I did, I realized I looked so baby faced. And it just comes back instantly as like
I won't
stubble.
Shave. I won't shave everything off unless they make me for the surgery because I just hate the way I look if I shave my bad beard that I have going on.
You know, they probably will.
Than Peter. Yeah, I know they probably will. And I'm going to wait until after my last day of work to do it.
I will say this. So we're giving him props for drawing the people better. I don't know what's up with this teacher. She looks like a Tim Burton claymation character. Her face is misshapen and the eyes and nose and mouth are way too small. It's pretty crazy.
She's just a classic mean teacher. Mean old bat.
Yeah. Who secretly has a heart of gold, but will never show it. The principal walks in with 2 federal agents and asks Kitty Pryde to come with him. And she's like, why? And he says, come on now. You knew this was going to happen. The mutant situation is very bad right now. The laws are clear. And Kitty sheds a tear and says, I didn't do anything wrong.
I think that this has to be the girl that walked into the bathroom.
Interesting theory.
She definitely reported Kitty.
Let's see. Let's see if anything backs that up. So Kitty says she didn't do anything wrong. The principal's like, I know. Now let's go. And Kitty gets angry and says, and if I don't go? And the principal's like, there's an anti-mutant task force waiting outside. And Kitty says, you can't shoot me. Bullets phase right through me. So what, you're going to try and shoot me and hit the guy behind me? And this is kind of funny. We see Flash Thompson over her shoulder looking like he's about to piss himself. And Peter stands up and says, Kitty, they want you to freak out and make a scene. They're trying to turn this into an incident. And we see a tense few panels of like an individual character or two at a time. We get Kitty, the principal, Gwen, MJ, Kong, Tandy Bowen, and one of the agents' faces. And Tandy looks pretty pleased with herself and has one finger over her lip. And like John said, we can assume she called the feds about Kitty. And one agent has a gun drawn on her, and the other one has snuck up behind her and is about to grab her. And Peter yells, Kitty, run! It's a really tense scene. You could she can phase through stuff and she's a main character and probably nothing bad's going to happen to her. But, you can cut the tension with a knife. It kind of got my heart rate up a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's pretty absurd for federal officers to be storming into a school drawing their guns.
Is it a little on the nose? Yes, but also, I love how Bendis takes the time and effort to kind of talk about mutant issues in a Spider-Man book and really sell that this world hates mutants and it's not dissimilar to how marginalized communities are treated or hated in our world. A lot of X-Men fans don't actually like Bendis because they don't like his run when he was writing the X-Men. I think Bendis is an X-Men super fan, and I think he really tries to do them right, even when he's not directly writing them. Anyways, that's the issue. I give it 9.5 out of 10 girlfriends getting along. What do you think?
I won't go that high on it, but I'll give it an 8 out of 10 girlfriends getting along.
Oh, come on. You give everything an 8.
Well, lately I've been giving all these things like 5s and 6s, so... but I mean, it can't go up to a 9 because we reserve that for, like, the best ones. And this still isn't, like, one of the top-tier Spider-Man issues. We don't have a villain. We don't have any, there's no Spider-Manning.
What are you talking about? He did more Spider-Manning in one night than he's ever done.
I mean, he did. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Okay.
There wasn't a scene in this issue that I didn't like or thought could be improved if they did it differently. I think everything just was great execution of a great idea, and it had me hooked. And it's about my two favorite characters, Jessica Drew and Kitty Pryde.
Okay, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Girlfriends
you get all
getting
this,
along. You
get this interesting stuff about Jessica's sexuality and how that affects Peter's sexuality.
LaFuente drawing everything better is definitely an upswing as well.
For sure.
Even though Peter is the only one that got the haircut, everyone's face is not as round.
That's true. Kitty's face is a little round in this last page, but you know what? I can forgive it.
Okay, should we just go into mine?
Yep, take us there.
Okay, and this is called Tainted Love, this little run. This is Tainted Love, part 2 of 6 now is my issue. So issue 10. The federal officers are in the school. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but they're not de-escalating the situation. They're actually escalating the situation.
Well, because like Peter said, that's what they came here to do. They're trying to cause a conflict. They're trying to make a scene.
Yep. They've got their guns out. They're waving their guns around. They tell Kitty Pryde to come with them. They say she's violating federal law by being a mutant. So this is also interesting. It's now just illegal to be a mutant in general in this world.
Yep.
That's kind of
It is, right?
I mean, they can't control that.
I know.
And Kong jumps to her defense, which is, there's like 5 superhero people in the building, and Kong jumps to her defense, and he says, "This is bullshit," and cold clocks one of the agents across the face. The other agents immediately jump on Kong, and one of them puts their gun to his head, execution style. And Kitty grabs Kong, telling him that she's been running circles around federal agents since her bat mitzvah, and she phases them through the ground into the sewers below as the class cheers for them. And that's kind of nice, Like, her classmates don't dislike her. I guess they kind of do. They were all chucking food at her. I don't know. I can't tell what the school thinks of Kitty.
Well, there's clearly like a clique of assholes that's like Flash and his jock friends besides Kong, and Tandy, and I guess when she was around, Liz Allen. They're like those people who either hate mutants or are just bullies in general. But I think everyone else, for the most part, likes Kitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably. Because, she, well, I guess I shouldn't say the whole class is cheering for her, because we specifically just see, like, our group of super friends that are like, "Go, Kitty, go." So I guess we don't know how the rest of the class is really reacting to this.
Well, I also think, if I was in a high school class and someone that you may or may not know, just someone in your class, the cops came to arrest them, and they punched a cop and jumped out the window and got away, I think everyone would be pretty hyped about that, Regardless of how you felt about that person, I think you'd be like, that was sick. Something cool happened at school today.
I'd be super hyped about it after the fact. I would be keeping my mouth shut during it, which is not a good thing, but after I see that the federal agents have their guns out, And not only do they have them out, but they're like holding it to the head of normal students. I'd be like, okay, I'm staying out of this situation. Sorry, Kitty. This is you're a superhero. You can handle this one yourself. Bullets do not go through me.
And the gun actually went off when Kong punched him. This dude did not have good trigger discipline. He's getting punched, his glasses are breaking, and we see his gun actually fire. So good thing that didn't hit anyone.
Dude, these guys, yeah, what in the world?
They're just the worst.
They're the worst. So in the sewer, Kitty tells Kong, she's like, that was awesome. I never should have broken up with you. And they share a big smooch. And I said, good for Brian Michael Bendis. He's back. And Kong
I'm not going to lie, John. Even if it's my dream girl, if we're both covered in crap and pee, I don't think I'm in the mood for a kiss.
Dude, yeah, you would be. Yeah, you would be. It depends how many times you've made out with this girl. If it's like the first time, you'd still be in the mood to make out. If you've been dating for like 3 years, then no, you'd be like, this is f***ing foul. Okay, we need to get cleaned up.
I think it's foul either way, but good for them, I guess.
So Kong asks Kitty what they do now and asks her if she's going to run away. And she looks at him and says, let's go. And they take off holding hands running through the sewers. Cute.
I'm rooting for those crazy kids.
Me too. The next day, the principal's holding a big like school conference for the parents at the auditorium, and they're all like screaming and shouting at him from the crowd about the mutants in the school and the federal agents bringing guns into the school and like all the craziness. And the principal finally loses his patience and yells, "Quiet!" And the entire crowd goes silent. And Aunt May is kind of drawn. I'm not really sure I understand the point of how, like, they cut back and forth with Aunt May and the crowd and the principal looking at them a lot. And I sort of get what they're supposed to be like going for here, but I just don't think that it like really comes through that much. But all of the parents are standing up yelling, and Aunt May is like seated, kind of like looking calmly about the situation.
Her facial expression never changes, but we see it so many times. It feels like a missed opportunity to show, you know, her reacting to the different things he's saying.
And the principal tells the crowd that yesterday a girl was chased out of the school for being different, and they all allowed it to happen. And he tells the parents that he tendered his resignation, saying he won't allow that kind of thing to happen on his watch.
He literally did.
He led the agents into the school.
This principal is like an all-star of making colossal mistakes in his job and then saying, whoops, sorry, afterwards.
Well, he's like trying to do right, but he isn't.
But this is the second time he's done that.
And so he says that the children deserve better than what we're giving to them. They deserve better than what we let happen to this world, before he storms off the stage, leaving the crowd and Aunt May shocked and in silence. And back at the Parker house, the gang wonders what they should do and what they should have done. They're all like, oh, we should have done something. And Johnny's like, Peter told us not to. And Peter's like, what, am I in charge of this group now? Like, and Gwen says there's nothing we could have done. You know, we only would have made it worse, which they all kind of agree that there's nothing they really could have done. And then Peter says that they need to go and help find Kitty and Kong. So they all suit up and they fly or swing over to Kitty's, where there's already a big media circus going on with like media vans outside of her house. When all of a sudden, a huge explosion blows up one of the media vans sitting in front of Kitty's house. And the Assassin's Creed hero that we know is Kitty is standing above the fire, and she's looking pretty villainous. And she says, "Run, you little pieces of run home and hide under your beds." And our heroes, who don't know that this is Kitty, immediately go and try to attack. But Peter phases right through this new villain. And as that happens, the team realizes that this person is Kitty, right as she punches Bobby in the face, completely cracking his ice face. And Kitty yells at the team, asking them what the hell they're doing there and telling them it's a little late to be helping her out now. You know, where were they when she actually needed help? And Peter and Johnny try to calm her down, telling her not to become the type of person that the media and everyone is trying to turn her into. They say, "Don't become like Magneto." And Kitty turns and scowls back. Magneto was right, as she punches Peter across the street, blasting him through her house wall onto her couch next to her mom.
That's like a big X-Men thing. Magneto was right.
That's what I was about to say. I'm like, this must be like a classic line that's like, Magneto was right, because they said that in X-Men 97 also. Like, they made a big point to have one of the characters be like, Magneto was right. So this must just happen like a lot.
It's one of those things where you say, "Oh, they said the line."
Okay, yeah. Which is kind of funny, because this is one of like the only comic situations where Magneto was not right.
He was not. Ultimate Magneto sucks.
Yeah. Normally, I would agree that Magneto was right, but not this Magneto. This Magneto was just some twerpy little kid who like didn't like his parents, so he decided to kill everybody.
Yeah, she's just mad and lashing out.
Yeah, kind of classic women.
Is her right? You know what? I support women's rights and women's wrongs. She's been through some, and you know what? It's okay if she needs to blow up a couple news vans and scatter some.
How's she blow that up?
Sheeple.
She doesn't have those types of powers.
It shouldn't have blown up, but she can disrupt.
Yeah, if she goes through it.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe she threw a pumpkin bomb.
Maybe this is so stupid that we're even thinking this deep about it, but maybe she like took out some of the electrical wiring and like touched the wires together after she had phased them into the gas.
Well, she did something.
She did something.
Yeah.
I'm sure at Xavier's school, you know, they don't teach calculus, but they probably teach how to blow up a car.
It's also kind of messed up. She really, you know, she might be lashing out, but she's being kind of a villain here. You know, like the media, as shitty as it is,
to this.
She shouldn't just be killing innocent people.
I don't think she's killing anyone.
She did a big explosion in a big group of people. Like,
yeah, you know, to scare them away.
Might have died, but somebody might have died.
John, they all got blown. There could have been
you don't think there's a person in that van?
Yeah, it was her.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe. Yeah.
I support Kitty Pryde in all situations except for the 3 times when she said the N-word.
What?
That's unfortunately her legacy. Yeah, in the 80s, Chris Claremont, on 3 separate occasions, had her say the hard R. And it was always like...
Now that's ultimate. That's absolute.
Yeah, absolute, ultimate. Yeah, ultimate mistake. It was always in the context of, hey, listen up, guys. Hating someone because they're different is wrong. How would you like it if I called you, and then she says a bunch of slurs?
Dude. That's like when Quentin Tarantino just wants to like say the N-word in his movies. Oh gosh, Claremont or whatever his name is, just clearly wanted to like write that into his comics
multiple times and have her be the person to say it. Yeah. That is a record that will never be broken in comics. There will never be anyone who says more slurs on page than Kitty Pryde has. But you know what? For the past 40 years, she has been so good.
Is that what this issue is going to be rated out of? out of 3 N-words that Kitty Pryde said in the 80s.
Oh man.
No, it won't be. Okay. let's stop talking about it.
Our lawyers are advising us to shut up.
The Better Business Bureau is calling. Okay, so Peter's on the couch in Kitty Pryde's house, and Kitty's mom is just watching, and she says, "Help my daughter, help Kitty." And Bobby tries to freeze Kitty so the group can talk to her and calm her down. But she immediately punches through the big ice block that she's been frozen in. And they're like, okay, how is she able to like punch so hard and she can break out of this? And I'll kind of skip scenes a little bit, but she says it's because she's been training. She was like, well, I figured if I could phase through things, I could probably also like turn my body into like different things, which kind of makes sense, I guess. If she can turn her body like I can't think of any of these words because I'm not a science dork.
Change her molecules.
Yeah, if she can make it so they can go through stuff, or like she can lower the density, she can probably also raise the density. That's the science word I was thinking of, density. Which makes sense because, you know, we were talking very early on seeing this Assassin's Creed character that it seemed like she was almost like made of like a hard metal, you know, and now we know that's something that she can do.
I still think her hands are like bandages. You know, it looks like it could be like steel or it could be like bandages. I think it's like she wrapped her hands up like a boxer maybe would, but she is also hitting with a super dense fist.
Yeah. So she yells at Peter and she tells him she can't believe she ever thought she could count on him, saying he's just another piece of crap human who treats mutants like And then sadly, Zach, point against David LaFuente. I said there's a couple of panels where I just cannot tell what's happening in them. And I read it multiple times and I just can't see. I said, Johnny's burning something, Bobby's freezing something, Peter kicks something, and I can't tell at all what they're trying to be doing.
So she phases through the ground, and then they see like a sewer grate, and they're like, over there. Basically, we can use that sewer grate to get down into the sewers where she went.
Yep, definitely.
But it is confusing.
And that's what Peter kicks in. They freeze and burn the sewer grate, and then Peter kicks it in so they can all follow her down into the sewer. Okay.
And he says, yeah, I could have just lifted it.
Yeah. I wasn't I don't know. I guess you got it right away, but I looked at it multiple times, and I'm like, I don't get what they're doing. But now it makes sense.
It's kind of funny. It's like, you know, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You know, the ice guy and the fire guy, they're like, we can freeze this sewer grate, and then we can burn it, and then we can rub it up. And Peter's like, dude, we could just pick it up.
So I said the whole team ends up in the sewers, I guess. And now we know how that happened. So they're chasing Kitty down into the sewers. But we get this big hallway shot of the sewers looking completely empty. So Kitty's disappeared. And Johnny says, come on, guys, leave her alone. That's what she said she wanted. Before we see Kitty alone and crying, sitting in the sewer. And I think you have to wonder where Kong is in all of this. Because he's on the run too. Is he just like sitting in a filled sewer? Like... by himself somewhere? Is she back at home with his parents? I don't know.
I think she definitely left him somewhere safe. You know, I think she knows where he is.
She probably knows the sewer system pretty well at this point.
Maybe.
For real. She like is always phasing down there.
Well, that's funny. But even if she didn't know where she was, you know, she can just pop up and phase through the surface and be like, oh, cool, I'm on, I don't know, 39th Street.
Yeah. So Kitty's sitting alone and crying. Something's going on with her eyes too. She looks very evil. She
looks mad. She's like hurt and angry and bitter and withdrawn.
Yeah. And in our very last scene, darn it, I meant to check this when we were watching your issue. In the last scene, MJ is editing the video of what happened in class. She tells Jessica she didn't even think about it. She just immediately started filming out of instinct when the agents came in. And that's what I wanted. I meant to look back and see if we can see her with her camera out.
I'm
and I forgot
checking
to
now.
do that. Yeah. And Jessica tells her that this is a national news story and Mary Jane's the only one that has footage. And she just got into any college in the world. And that's like where it's like to be continued. They're like, Mary Jane, you just got into any college you wanted to. As if like that's the goal of our Spider-Man series. It's like, how are these kids going to get into the colleges of their choice?
They haven't once talked about college, except for the Eddie Brock thing.
And now it's, yeah. And all of this like important stuff is happening. And like, that's what Jessica Jones and MJ, I won't say MJ because MJ doesn't say anything about it, you know, but it's interesting that that's where Jessica Jones's head goes. She's kind of a selfish person, you know.
And I think that's in keeping with what we've seen of her so far is she's very ambitious.
Sure. That's another word for it. Ambitious.
Johnny,
selfish, ambitious.
It's okay for women to have dreams and goals, all right? We don't have to demonize them for them.
That's true, I guess. I guess if you're going to film something, you might as well get into a good college because of it.
Yep. It does also kind of feel like that scene where Kitty went over to MJ and was like, oh, you just saw these people throwing food at me and you just filmed it? And she's like, you don't understand. This is for the news. People need to know how mutants are treated. And Kitty was like, I hate you.
Well, MJ's not in the wrong there. You know, when police officers are places, the first thing you're supposed to do is whip out a camera and start filming them. So they can't do anything that they would not want on film, right? That's why we want body cameras on cops also. So I don't think MJ is doing this to try to get ahead in her life. And I think MJ is doing this out of a sense of like right and wrong and doing what she can do to help. Just like it makes me think of like Aunt May doing what she can do to help, you know. But Jessica Jones, I think, is the opposite. She is seeing situations as how can I use this to get ahead? Because she's so ambitious.
I think Mary Jane wants to be a damn good journalist because she believes in journalism. Jessica Jones wants to be a damn good journalist, so she's good at something.
Okay. And that's where our issue ends. So another pretty good one.
I did look back at issue 9, and we never see any indication that Mary Jane is filming, but we also don't see anything that says she isn't. Her hands are kind of hidden.
Well, let's see. When they all start cheering for Kitty, let's go back to my issue here. And when they all start cheering, ooh, MJ does have her camera out. In the very first panel, it's hidden. You can see her in the background. She's got her camera like hidden. It's almost like hidden in a book. It almost looks like
it looks like she has like a 3-ring binder that she has.
That's got a camera inside of it. Dude, MJ is a damn good journalist. I'll tell you what.
What a clever girl.
Yeah, she is. And she's got it in all of these different scenes. You can see it. They make a point to like show the camera lens in the 3-ring binder.
She's literally pointing it around the room. Wow.
God damn, I love her.
What a great comic.
Yeah, this is pretty good. Since I gave the last one 8.5 out of 10, I like this one more. I will give this one a 9 out of 10. Let's give it a 9 out of 10 smooches in the sewer.
All right. I am not quite there with you. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I liked mine better.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I also really was vibing with the principal when he's just getting furious at everybody talking over each other and he just yells, "Quiet!" I'm like, been there, man.
That seems like
stand it when these kids are all talking over each other.
Yeah,
and
that
I'm
seems
trying to say something, you know.
Yes. Was that a little cathartic to you as a teacher?
It was. Yeah, it was a good one. We got a couple good ones here. I still do wish we were getting I mean, I guess maybe they're giving, there's like a little lull here in the Mysterio storyline. But I don't know. I don't like that the Firecracker twins or mother-daughter combo are like the people that we're seeing the most. They're like the villains that we see the most now.
The Bombshells.
Yeah, the Bombshells. But that's okay. I didn't notice it at all in this one because it's almost like Kitty was the villain in this one. You know, she was like blowing up stuff
or from a certain perspective, all of Kitty's friends that didn't stick up for her are the villain.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil.
I really do. Okay, you just got me started. I really do think the point of the Jedi is they're just like the limp neo-libs who sit on their hands as like democracy falls apart, and they're like, oh no, the Senate parliamentarians said we can't codify Roe v. Wade, so I guess, you guys are just out of luck.
Well, I think that's what they're supposed to be. I think George Lucas made them like that on purpose.
Yes.
You know?
So I wouldn't say they're like the Jedi are the bad guys, but I definitely don't think the Jedi are supposed to be, the noble heroes that they present themselves as.
Yeah. Well, I think they were in the past, but they have become super complacent with like themselves. Now they've become full of themselves, so now they do just like sit around kind of doing nothing. And yeah,
exactly. What's the saying that like Elon Musk and all the boomer dads love to say, that's like good men make good times make weak men make hard times, or something like
strong men, like strong men make something yeah. They're
kind of the tail end of that theory.
Yeah. Which is too bad because Obi-Wan is so awesome.
Yeah. There are good individual
Qui-Gon
Jedis.
is the best.
Oh, yeah. Qui-Gon
he
kind of rocks. He's the one who was closest to seeing like the full picture. I think that's the real error of the Jedi, is that they're all wise in like individual moments and instances, but they can't see the full forest for the trees.
Well, that's why it's called Duel of the Fates. Because had Qui-Gon survived, everything would have been different.
He would have raised Anakin properly. Yeah.
Let's turn into a Star Wars podcast.
Dude, I love the Star Wars prequels. I think they're just so interesting.
I think they're better than the originals. Oh my god, we're going to get canceled. But that's just because I hate watching old stuff. It's too boring and slow moving.
Well, I mean, people thought that the prequels were boring and slow moving, and it's like, no. Do you realize, like, you can't have a Star War without, wars are inherently political. What led to these wars? This is the kind of world building you need for this story to mean anything.
If there is a boring one, it is probably the first one, because they're all like the trade movement is, we've got to, I don't know. It's just like not, they're talking, that one is like government and trading and this and that. And it's not as much Star Wars. It's very political, like boring politics.
I can't say The Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie, but it is unironically my favorite.
I don't dislike it at all.
My favorite Star Wars movie. And part of that is just, I was the exact right age when it came out to be absolutely pumped about it and not, be cynical about like, oh, what race is Watto supposed to be making fun of? And hey, doesn't Jar Jar Binks suck? I just ate it all up, I
think I've said before that I loved Jar Jar Binks, and I had also never seen the originals when I saw the prequels before I saw the originals. Just based on when we grew up, like, when did that prequel come out? When I was 8 years old. So of course I would have seen those movies before I saw these movies that were 30 years old at that point,
That's crazy. I have to have like some memories from earlier than I should, because it came out in 99. I would have been 4, but I can remember watching the VHS tapes for the original series nonstop before that movie came out. I can remember my dad being like, hey, they're making a new Star Wars movie. And I'm like, wow, that's big. That's awesome.
I remember having a buddy. His name's Matt, and he was a huge Star Wars fan. And I remember going over to his house and we watched like the originals at a slumber party. And he like loved them so much. And it's so funny. I like remember like not really being that into them, but obviously like acting like I like love them and they were like the best things in the world, but thinking like these aren't as good. They're kind of like boring to me. I don't know if they're still all good, but you know, new things are better.
Do you want to do something kind of different?
Yes.
I did this recently. I normally would not share this on the pod or read this or whatever. I made a little 1-page Star Wars fanfic like maybe a month ago.
Really?
Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely.
All right. I did this in like 30 minutes, no edits, no nothing. Don't judge too hard. He's coming back around.
Were you going to read this no matter what? Or are you only reading this because we've been talking about Star Wars?
I'm only reading this because we were talking about Star Wars.
What a happy accident.
Yeah.
And listeners, Zach was not even the one that brought up Star Wars. I did that. I said, in my opinion, the Jedi are evil, and that's what got us on this.
Yeah. So Thank you for that. Okay. He's coming back around, announced the Major. Fire all forward cannons, shouted Admiral Smear Greldo. I just made up the most Star Wars name I could think. Sir, he's damaged our targeting drive, responded a private from below the gangway. A single Rebel X-Wing whizzed past the command deck windows, visible just long enough for Admiral Greldo to recognize the insignia below the cockpit. He gulped. 4 Imperial TIE fighters screamed past the window in tight pursuit of the lone Rebel ship. The 2 lead ships exploded before ever passing out of view of the window. 12 million credits worth of offensive technology and 2 first-class pilots turned to stardust in an instant. If the Rebels had a prayer of a chance in this war, that chance rested on the wings of their best pilot. Send a distress call to any available Imperial ships in the system, Greldo shouted to the Major. He's jammed our communications, said a voice from the main deck. Greldo froze in fear. It would be the end of his promising career if word reached Grand Moff Tarkin that he had been defeated by a single enemy pilot. However, Greldo also knew this was no ordinary pilot. He had heard of a Rebel pilot capable of dispatching an entire fleet by himself. The pilot had honed his skills as a young man in the Tatooine pod racing circuit, according to the tales. Even back then, his opponents rarely survived the encounters. Swallowing his pride, Greldo turned to the Major. Have the remaining TIE fighters retreat. Divert all remaining power to the shields. Set a course for the nearest world and ready all escape pods. Are you mad? It's 1 X-Wing, shouted the Major. We should launch more TIEs and be rid of that Rebel scum. You don't understand, said Greldo. It's already too late. As the X-Wing orbited up from under the belly of the Imperial battle cruiser, it propelled a single proton torpedo through the glass of the command deck windows before entering hyperdrive. It was half a parsec away when the skin melted off Admiral Greldo's face, and well into the next star system by the time the chain reaction had fully destroyed the enemy ship. The pilot removed his flight helmet. A smile emerged from between the 2 fins dangling from his bony nose. He laughed to himself. Imperial bantha fodder. Sebulba always wins.
That's awesome. I love a good Sebulba story.
Yep. So, funny story, I sent this when I wrote it to my buddy Luke, who's a Star Wars fan. He's actually named after Luke Skywalker. And he responded back almost instantly and was like, man, that rocks. I didn't see the ending coming at all. It was Sebulba. What's that guy up to? Hey, I didn't get to read it super close either, by the way, because I'm driving with an expired license right now. This dude was driving at night with an expired license, literally reading Sebulba fanfic that I had sent him.
Nice.
And I was like, what are you doing? Pull over.
Oh, that's good. I like it. I didn't know you were such a Star Wars fan.
I mean, I kind of am. It's an intimidating thing to write about because there's definitely Star Wars fans that would probably check me on that and be like, idiot, that's not the name of that ship. But I just got one thought and I was like,
actually, Smear Gualdo was blah, 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 blah. This person in the extended universe.
Sure, yeah. I literally was just driving home from work one day and I thought to myself, it seems like, pod racing and flying a ship are like similar skills. So what if Anakin ended up becoming Darth Vader and then Sebulba ended up being like the greatest rebel pilot there was?
That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome. So I wrote a little page of it.
Okay, I have one more Spider-Man thing about this comic before we totally move on.
Gotcha. What's up?
Next week's issue is on the cover, J. Jonah Jameson raising a chair above a maskless Peter Parker as Spider-Man, grabbing him by the neck. I am titillated to read this next issue. Let me just say.
It pisses me off that he's about to hit him with a swivel chair, and it's not swiveling wildly and hitting him in the head.
Well, maybe it will. Maybe that's how Peter gets away.
Yeah. Yep, so Spider-Man versus J. Jonah Jameson, the fight you've been waiting 141 issues for.
Yeah. Okay, good issues. Next week, number 11 and 12?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay,
cool.
Let's see what else we got for the week. Lots of comic things going on.
Are there?
Yes.
What'd I miss?
Well, Joker 2, Folie à Deux, we still haven't seen. So I'm going to bring that up every time until one of us watches it and we can talk about it.
Okay.
And then Venom 3 came out, which is actually Spider-Man, kind of.
What do you mean it's
Well, it's
extended.
like related. Yeah, it's like related to Spider-Man, which I'm guessing we also haven't seen. I've actually never seen any of the Venom movies.
Neither have I.
There you go. There you go, listeners.
Maybe I'm a bad Spider-Man fan, but I just don't care about movies that don't actually have him in it. Sue me.
Maybe I just don't care about bad movies. So sue me. But I've never seen them, so I shouldn't actually say that they're bad. But I don't know. Tom Hardy as Venom in like a jokey role, it just doesn't interest me at all.
Venom as an anti-hero has never interested me.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
He should be a big, scary bad guy.
Yeah, I agree. And then the finale of Agatha, House of Harkness, Coven of Chaos. Agatha All Along. It's out. Did you see it?
I saw the first episode.
What did you think?
I was surprised they showed ass in a Disney movie.
Who's ass? Do I have to rewatch this?
Catherine Hahn's, Agatha's.
Oh, I got to check this out again.
Yeah. First time it's ever happened. Yeah, it's just fine. I think you did really good describing it. It's literally just fine. That's how
they sing a cool song. They sing it every episode, so get used to it.
Oh, fun.
Pretty good. The ending was pretty good. I do have some questions about it. Can I spoil it? Can I ask you these questions, and if any of the webheads can know, that they can write in and tell me?
Sure.
Are you sure? You don't
I'm not going to be the guy to ask, but yeah, ask the webheads.
No, I'm asking. Okay. I don't understand why Agatha kills all these witches to begin with. I don't understand how she started on that path. Is that like about the Darkhold that she like started just sucking power from other witches? I don't understand why when she has her son, that's what their plan is, to like just go around like killing other witches. Like, it's not explained why they do that. I don't understand how she comes back as a ghost. Agatha dies. Sorry, Zach. Oh, spoilers.
Oh, no.
I don't, but not really, because she just comes back as a ghost. So I don't understand why she gets to come back as a ghost just like randomly, but other people don't. Must be something about her. And I don't know. I think those were my two big questions. I feel like I had one more that I can't quite remember right now. I almost wrote them down, but then I was like, I don't really care that much. So if anybody can explain these things, then feel free to let me know. But I did think that it was generally like pretty good. I am so thrilled that Aubrey Plaza's character, is it Audrey or Aubrey?
I don't know.
I think it's Aubrey.
I always get those two mixed up.
I don't understand why, or no, I'm sorry, not I don't understand. I'm really glad that they didn't give her some throwaway line about like Thanos. I was like, I said that last week. I was like really worried that they were going to give her just like some throwaway line that kind of like made Thanos seem like a little like in retrospect. And I'm really glad that they didn't do that. So I'm going to give it a point for not doing that, because it would have been an easy joke to make. And everybody would have been like, oh yeah, because Thanos in the comics, blah, 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 blah. And it would have annoyed me really badly. So
does she say anything about Deadpool? Because her and Deadpool also have a fling in the comics.
Nope. She doesn't say anything about that either.
Okay, good.
But it was generally pretty good. The last couple episodes I liked a lot. The last three specifically, the third to last one was really good also. Oh, that's my other question. How does the witch that can like jump through time, one of the witches can like jump through time, Zach. She like sees things out of order. And she tells Agatha, she's like, when Rio, that's Aubrey Plaza's character, Death, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. How would that witch know that? Because she wasn't there in that situation. She was already dead. So there's no reason that she would have been able to go to that point in time and see what was about to happen. So, maybe someone can explain to me how that works. If you can, feel free to write in. I'd love to know, because those are my questions that I have after watching the series. But generally, it got from just fine to like a pretty good show there in the last 3 episodes.
Cool.
Very cool.
Glad to hear it.
What else do you have for us?
Man, I don't have anything.
Okay. I haven't watched any more Evangelion.
Yeah. My cousin, who I think I told him about it around the same time I told you, he finished the series and then actually came over last night and we watched End of Evangelion together.
Oh, is he digging it?
Yeah, he liked it. He had a similar take as you early on. He was like, yeah, it's good. I don't understand why you think it's like the best show ever. And I was like, because it becomes something different. And then last night he was like, okay, yeah, that was pretty trippy.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. It's still on my to-do list.
Sure.
And I'm sure you haven't checked out any of the Devil's Hour in the last week.
I haven't, but you know what? I have a 5-day weekend, so maybe I will this week.
You should. There's only 11 episodes, 6 in season 1, 5 in season 2.
Yeah, that's great. I love a digestible show.
Yeah. I would have liked more episodes because I love seeing Peter Capaldi on screen. He's one of my favorite actors.
You think they'll make another season?
I think so. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Okay. Is it Spider-Man trivia time? Ding.
It's Spider-Man trivia time. Ding. So we're still talking about the Tom Holland movies. That's the chapter we're in.
Okay.
Zendaya plays Spider-Man's love interest, MJ. What does MJ stand for?
Michelle Jones.
That's right.
Let's go.
The similarity was intentional, said Kevin Feige. Giving her those initials reminds you of the dynamic that is certainly intriguing about what could be going forward. I don't think that makes any sense, but that's what
it's like
that's what Kevin Feige said about it. It was intentional, you guys, and then just says some gibberish.
That like reminded me when at the very end of that movie, when she's like, when they're like Michelle, and they're like, you can call me MJ. That's what my friends call me. It reminded me of in The Dark Knight Rises, where we've spent the whole movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, and then at the very end, as he's like getting stuff from Bruce Wayne's will, he like tells the woman his name, and they're like, oh, we don't have anything for that person. And he gives her his ID, and he's like, oh, it might be under my legal name. And the person's like, oh, Robin. I like that. That's a pretty name. And it's like, oh my God, just shut up.
That
especially because Robin's name is not Robin.
No. I even know that. That reminds me. So there's no more. They have scrapped all future plans for any Kingsman movies. That series is officially over. And people were talking about, wow, the last words ever spoken in a Kingsman movie will forever be Adolf Hitler, because they did that insane post-credit scene.
Yep. Where they're getting the power of evil, and they're like, I've got a man who's really evil, and Adolf Hitler walks around the corner. Oh, man.
Chad, is this real? Did Adolf Hitler conspire with Lenin?
Yeah.
It's like the craziest thing.
Yeah. Well, see, because fascists and socialists are the same, Zach.
Sure, they love each other. Famously, they get along.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow. I hope sarcasm comes through radio waves.
I'm certain that the people who listen to this show know that. Yeah.
True or false? Far From Home is the first MCU film without a Stan Lee cameo.
Far From Home is the one with Jake Gyllenhaal. I always have to spend like 10 seconds thinking about which movie is which. Okay, let's see. He was in Avengers Endgame. Well, the first Marvel movie? Okay, so he was in Avengers Endgame, and the very next movie after Avengers Endgame, I believe, was Far From Home. So I'm going to say that is true.
You're right. Apparently, I guess it was possible. They had he died about a month after filming Wrapped, but they said it felt right. They said it felt right for Endgame to be his last cameo.
Now what is interesting is I'm pretty sure that the credits for the Marvel logo in that movie are his cameos. Unless I'm thinking of a different movie. In one of the Marvel movies after he passed away, that's what, you know how they do the intro and it's all the scenes that make up the Marvel logo? Yeah. I think that one was all of his cameos.
Interesting.
So he is still in that one. But I could be thinking of a different movie.
Okay, this is a good one. What was Tom Holland's best-known role before Spider-Man?
I don't know. I won't get that one.
Billy Elliot, the musical.
I'm okay with going 2 out of 3 and missing that one.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Awesome. What's the jam of the week?
Okay, do you have one?
No, I have a stupid one. Because the song that's been stuck in my head this week has been The Witch's Road.
Oh, gotcha.
So I won't have a jam of the week this week because I'm not going to make it that.
Okay. Mine is No Surprises by Radiohead. I'm not usually a Radiohead guy, but I was listening to this one the other day and had the lyrics up. And for some reason, when they said a job that slowly kills you and bring down the government, I felt that. I was like, yeah, these guys are spitting.
I love it. I love it. Okay. You got anything else?
I don't.
All right. Well, then I'm going to take us out. Well, thank you so much to Ian Hickey for the music and Alyssa Seaman for the artwork. And thank you all the webheads for listening and leaving us a review or a comment. You can find us the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else you find podcasts. And you can leave us a comment on Instagram at First Read Podcast. Send us an email at firstreadspidey@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, First Read Ultimate Spider-Man Podcast. See you next week.
See ya.